Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're watching me from. My name is Dr. Obi Oramba, Iboeze, reaching you from Nkolo Mahadum, Wisdom University. Today's date is Nkwo Market Day in the 8th month of the Igbo lunar calendar called Onwa Elo Mo. And today's date in the Roman Catholic calendar is September 10th, 2024. Remember, at Nkolo Mahadum, we encourage you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call in Igbo, Ako Nuche. Always use your Ako Nuche to separate chaff from the truth whenever you are receiving all these informations from that is brainwashing and confusing you from all over the places. Use your Akonuche all the time. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Like our program, comment, so that we know how you are feeling. Also, share. Share these lectures to all your friends and well-wishers, and to your children. Remember, Nkolo Mahadum is an university. It's an university where you use your common sense. It is an university for everyone. And today's lecture is our number 62 lecture. So if you miss this lecture, please listen to it immediately and then go back to our previous lectures, because they were all organized for you, as they are all presented from Biafran and African perspectives, so that you see things from how things concern you, from the ego eye of a Biafran and an African. Don't be saying things by the way others are saying it, because they are saying it as it will benefit them. So in the same way, try to see information and analyze them on how it affects you, a Biafran and an African. That's how you should be evaluating information. And the title of today's lecture is Win or Loss, Ukraine land and resources will be taken by NATO, led by American companies and their military industrial complex. So whether Ukraine wins this war or loses it, their land and resources will be taken away by NATO companies, especially the American companies and their military industrial complexes. And you know that Ukraine is the largest country in Europe, and it was previously part of Russia and a very successful part of Russia before, when they were separated from Russia, and now they become a country. The landscape of Ukraine is characterized by fertile plains and plateaus, and crossed by several rivers that flows into the Black Sea. That is why the land of Ukraine is very fertile. And you can tell, even though they're at war, they are still producing a lot of food and exporting those food to many other countries. And so their land is very, 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 very fertile, very rich. But most importantly, also, Ukraine has a wide variety of natural resources, which can be divided into three main groups: energy resources, metal ores and non-metal ores, which included coal, oil and gas, oil and natural gas, iron ore, manganese ore, largest uranium deposit, which is estimated to be 45,600 tons, 300 deposits of graphite, about 1 billion tons, or 20% of the world's graphite, except China. They are second to China in the graphite deposits in Ukraine. Other deposits in Ukraine includes mercury, potash salt, gold, building materials, ornamental stones, and hydropower resources. All these natural resources is estimated to be about 10 to 12 trillion dollars. That is partly what is at stake in Ukraine. So when you are hearing war in Ukraine, Zelensky, do not reach peace agreement with Russia, we will give you this, you're going to win the war. It's all about how they will get all these natural resources from Ukraine. And they already mapped out all the areas that are fertile in Ukraine. They're already mapping out all the locations of these minerals in Ukraine and gradually taking them over. Plus, all these gifts, we call it gifts, they're not really gifts. There's no free lunch in America. Nothing is for free. All these military supplies, we're going to give you this money, these millions of dollars, this in military supplies, they're not for free. Eventually, they will be paid from all these natural resources that Ukraine have, which means whether Ukraine loses or wins the war, most of, if not all their resources and lands will be taken by the American government, the British government, the French government, the German government, and their companies. They are the ones to take over Ukraine. That's one thing Nkola Mahadum wants you to know today. And before we continue, we have to beg you again to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our program. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. Most importantly, comment and share our program. Share our lectures to your friends and well-wishers. And Nkola Mahadum is for everybody. It's for all ages. Whether you are a professor, whether you are a CEO, whatever you think you are, our lectures are meant for you. So who will be the ultimate beneficiaries? We have told you that some of the countries like America, Germany, French, Britain, all those people supporting and providing assistance to Ukraine will in one way or the other be rewarded, be paid back by Ukraine. Even as the war is going on, their resources are being taken. Their lands and resources are being taken. So some companies that will be or are major beneficiaries as we speak, as the war is going on, are the company they call BlackRock, JP Morgan, Chase, the one they call Chase here, but the big name is JP Morgan. US military contractors. You see all this money that the US government is saying they are giving to Ukraine? Those money are not actually going to Ukraine. They are going to US companies, those manufacturing the weapons in the US. So that's why they say that the money they are giving to Ukraine is creating jobs in America. You see it there? So those monies are not actually going to Ukraine. They're going to American weapon manufacturers in America here. Also, Ukraine went to meet the Wall Street CEOs. And you know those sitting with him at the round table when he met the Wall Street CEOs? They include, it was convened by JP Morgan. And those sitting were former Google CEO, Eric Schmidt, billionaire Mike Bloomberg, Robert Kraft, hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman, former US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, and billionaire Stanlich. These are the American billionaires that are in the meeting. The few of them. There are many others in the meeting with Zelensky when he visited Manhattan, in New York, in Wall Street. So all the American oligarchy, American billionaires, all their eyes are set on the resources of Ukraine. And they are grabbing it as we speak. As the war is going on, they're already grabbing those resources. And at the end, Ukraine will lose all their land and resources to these billionaires and companies and the foreign governments who are supporting his war. Remember, the current US Defense Secretary, Austin, said that the proxy war in Ukraine is to weaken Russia. The proxy war in Ukraine is to weaken Russia, which means, as we all have seen, the war in Ukraine is being supported by NATO countries led by America, not only to grab the land and resources of Ukraine, but also to weaken Russia, so that when Russia is weakened, they will eventually invade them and also take away all their land and resources. Because as we have mentioned earlier about all the lands and resources in Ukraine that amounted to between 10 to 12 trillion US dollars, the one in Russia is much, much, much bigger. So they are indirectly targeting the resources of Russia. That is another thing Nkola Mahadum Wisdom University wants you to take away today. And like we have said, that we're going to be keeping everything short at Nkola Mahadum. The takeaway from today's lecture is that win or loss, Ukraine land and resources will be taken by NATO members led by America and her companies and military industrial complex. Ukraine is a very large country with a lot of fertile lands and a lot of natural resources. That natural resources includes coal, oil and gas, uranium, graphite, gold, building materials, ornamental stones, and so on and so forth. A lot of natural resources are abundant in Ukraine. That's what the war is all about. The war is not only about to target Russia, to also divide the land of Russia, but it is meant to get hold of all these resources in Ukraine. And who are the beneficiaries? Mainly American companies, BlackRock, JP Morgan, US military contractors, that is the military industrial complex, those producing the weapons of war, those are the ones that are benefiting. And Zelensky has also sold us so many of the country's assets to Wall Street billionaires. And the US Defense Secretary have once said that the proxy war in Ukraine is to weaken Russia. Why do you want to weaken Russia? They want to weaken Russia so that in the long run, they will also invade Russia and take away their lands and resources. That's what Nkola Mahadum wants you to know. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. But before we do, we must advise all Africans to stand up and dismantle all the colonial boundaries in Africa, because they are the foundation of all the hunger, all the sufferings, all the wars that we are having in our land. And if we Africans cannot go to Europe and say, you answer this country, you answer this country, why should then we allow them? After they have done it for so many years, we've been in that mess for so many years, and this is 21st century. Everybody should stand up now to dismantle the colonial boundaries in Africa. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day.